everybody. Welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, our topic is leveraging your OSC for marketing success, and we're going to sprinkle in a little bit about bridging the gap between sales and marketing. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. Hi, Shari. Welcome back.
Hey. Okay.
It's been a minute since you've been on. Thank you for coming back and talking about this topic. Basically, we talk about this like all the time. So this is just going to be an insight into our conversations that we're having all the time and trying to talk about like why this gap exists and how the OSC can fill it.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Sounds good. Okay. Shari, before we get into it, let's do a little recap because there may be new visitors that don't know who you are. So introduce yourself and tell us like one quick thing about why you love the home building industry.
First of all, who doesn't know the Make It Pretty podcast by now? Catch up, people. I'm Shari Morton. I'm a partner here at Share Drive, and I'm tasked with the title of Chief Growth Officer, where I focus on opportunities for us to grow and improve the industry. I was very decisive about my job title because I wanted to work on things that I was passionate about every single day. And I've grown to be incredibly passionate about this industry because I find that not only is there a lot of room for opportunities, but there's also a lot of places to take inspiration from to create those improvements. I'll be perfectly honest, when I looked at the industry initially, I was like, man, this is like so archaic. We're very much a things are the way that they are. Why would we change it? But as I became more and more involved in this industry, I've changed my mind because there's just pockets of really brilliant people who have been here, who've had the ability to make huge changes. And I think to make things short, that's the thing I love about this industry. If you have a big idea, you can make a big impact. And I don't know that many industries offer that. And you know me, like I love to create waves.
So let's get into this topic. So I feel like the elephant in the room is always, oh, sales and marketing aren't getting along. There's this friction, like they don't understand each other or whatever. And I do think there's been improvements made. And I've seen a lot of builders talking about how they bring marketing into their sales rallies and they're sharing different data now so that everyone's on the same page. So I love to see that. But I definitely think that there's still some disconnects happening. And I want to talk about that. So why do you think that friction exists?
I've been a little bit obsessed about like the concept of high school and nostalgia. So I'm going to go into this metaphor, but I feel like marketing people, for the most part, there's no such thing as a true fact across all the board, but for the most part, marketing people are geeky, shy, eclectic. They're not great about saying, hey, look at me. They're more of, look what I created. I hope you like it. If you don't, like, it's fine, but I'm going to like freak out if you don't, quietly, and not tell anyone about it. And then sales side, they're closers, they're performers. They're the ones that are comfortable in the limelight. They like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about their products. So you have two very different mindsets. And for salespeople, they like, if you're proud of what you've accomplished, if you have an opinion, then speak up. And marketing's, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But for the marketing side, it's like they do a lot, they accomplish a lot, and they know a lot, but because they don't vocalize it often, I think they get ignored most of the time. And then there's the whole issues of boundaries. Salespeople are really good at getting what they want. Marketing people aren't as great about getting what they want. So I think that friction is just working together and having different personalities and not truly understanding what the other person brings to the table, and not understanding that the two different people communicate in a very different way.
Yeah. I think too, it's like a speed thing. Like from my perspective over here in my marketing world, sales is they're focused on I want immediate results. We got to get these sales. They're like very like right now, fast, fast. which is perfect for their role. But when that comes into or put on marketing efforts, like marketing is like, we want long-term strategy, we're bringing brand awareness. Like these are things that take time, and we want time to be able to create campaigns and things like that. And so it's like immediately we're just like not moving at the same speed. And so it feels like we're just going in different directions, even though we're actually working on the exact same goals and we're working towards the exact same KPIs. It's just like different speeds make it feel like marketing is pulling back sales or sales is always rushing marketing. And it, from my perspective, that's where the misalignment starts.
Totally.
So from the sales side, what do you think is, what did they need in order to make their job like the best that it can be, like either from marketing or from other parts of the company? What is something that that sales really needs to feel like they are aligned with the rest of the company?
I think sales needs to understand the why behind the what. I think everyone needs to understand the why behind the what. I can't tell you how many times my marketing team will send out an email to everyone but sales, right? And then sales gets a call like, oh, can I go ahead and book an appointment with you with my client because of your incentive? And they're like, what incentive? So that garners a little bit of resentment, I think, in a marketing meeting. When you talk about the strategy that you have, it's very rarely conveyed to the sales team. They don't know. They don't know what your strategy is. All they know is you print collateral for them, you keep the website nice. And if they have any ideas or whatever, they can tell you about it. But you guys are like the wizard behind the curtain. They don't know what's going on, nor do they ask, to be fair. So they're just like very much focused right here, and you guys are like out there looking at the landscape and figuring out what's down the pipeline, and they're just like focused in the deal, in the customer, in the home. And that goes to your whole timeline issue.
Yeah. And I think marketing is always looking for a shared alignment. And a lot of times it's not made super apparent, or it's not talked about in like sales rallies and things like that. Marketing is working on the same KPIs, and that all of these little things that take time but build, like social media, that take time to build but actually do contribute to getting those leads in and doing all that. It's just not talked about. And you're totally right. Like marketing, we're not good at bragging about ourselves. At least that's the stereotype. There are some out there that are really good, and I admire those people because that's what we need to do. We need to be a little bit better at bragging about ourselves, because otherwise, yeah, there's nothing, like, how would anyone know?
And I think one of the things that makes a huge difference is, imagine if you have a sales team and you have an email that you sent out on Friday for an opening at 9 a.m. on Saturday by the salesperson's request. You went ahead and you did it. And then you force the salespeople to be patient, or tell you ahead of time somehow that they're going to have an open house in 3 weeks, 4 weeks even. And you craft this beautiful email and you send it out multiple times. Imagine if you showed them scenario A and then scenario B, and you're like, so would you rather go to your open house with a 13% open rate and 4 people come? Or would you rather tell me 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time and I get 30, 40 people out there? Which one is more worth your time? I think if marketing found a way to sell the reason why they need more time, to sell the reason why they need more communication, I think you would speak the salesperson's language.
Yes, definitely. If you want it, you got to sell it, is definitely for marketing. I think too, marketing is, there's a lot of uncommunicated expectations on both teams. So like sales just being like, I just want to have the open house. Like, why are you blocking me from having this open house? Which is not what the goal is. But their expectation is, I want to do it right now. And marketing is, I need all of this time or whatever. But there's just, the communication is just lacking in a lot of ways. And for marketing, one of the things that I've seen as really frustrating is we'll do ads, right? And we'll think, oh, great, we're getting all these clicks, we're getting these appointments, whatever. And then we go to the meeting and we find out like oh, all these leads suck and everything's terrible and I don't know what you're doing. And when it's shit, dang it, I thought that we had gotten really good ones. And so a lot of times we don't hear about these issues early enough, or we're like asking and we don't get information. And so it's like, we really want that. We're always searching for like, where's the data? How can I make this better for the entire team? And it's sometimes very difficult to actually get really good answers.
It's the same thing as reverse. The salespeople know that these leads aren't quality, but they don't have the language that you need in order to explain why. They
Yes.
get that these leads suck. These are not real leads, but why? Because they're all dog groomers. And they're not all dog groomers. It's some of them are dog groomers and they come from the source. And if they could give you more information in order to pivot and strategize, it would be helpful as opposed to these leads suck. And to be
Mhm.
fair to the sales team, those leads do suck and they
Yep.
are running around and writing contracts. They don't have the ability to sit there and look at their screen and go, yes, this is from this source or this is from this source. It's just they don't have that capacity. And they, even if they did, they don't know what you're wanting.
So it's an education piece on both sides that's lacking. And yeah, I want to make it very clear in this episode. We're trying to take this from both perspectives, right? And so we're not like shitting on either side. We know that both sides have like improvements to be made. And one of the things that I think that we do really well and that is exciting for me because we can actually start fixing some of these issues is pulling in the OSC into this whole equation and how they bridge. And so you were one of the first people that had said that to me and brought this concept to me. So I'd love if you could share how that works and what that means when we say the OSC is the bridge between sales and marketing.
One of the questions that the industry always loves to ask me is which department does the OSC belong? And my answer is always they belong in their own department because they're their own type of service provider, they're their own type of salesperson. But I think the reason why people ask that question is because the OSC has the same type of personalities with the sales team, and they have similar personalities to marketing, and they have the communication skills and the knowledge and where they sit and they see the marketing side and they see the sales side. They have the ability to translate between the two departments. They have the ability because they work on the sales side, but they work with the marketing leads at the top of the funnel. They can grasp a better understanding of what both sides needs and the way that they work. They prospect, they are on the marketing websites, they are on the marketing platforms. They have their feet on both sides, so they can also tell you guys what happens in the middle sector. I think for marketing and sales, even if you had two departments that absolutely loved each other, so much happens in between that you both can't explain. So without that OSC person in the middle to help you understand, imagine if you had a 16-foot bowling alley and half of it is blocked out. You throw it and you're like, it's in the center. And then when it goes towards the end, they're like, gutter ball. And you're like, what the heck happened? Without an OSC with the viewpoint of the middle sector, it's a guessing game.
No, that's so true. You're so good at analogies because now I'm thinking of the bowling alley lane. And that is what it feels like because marketing gets the ball first and we start it rolling and we're like, yes, everything's amazing. And when we hear it didn't end amazing, it's so disappointing and it can be like such a mystery. So then we're like looking through all the data and we're looking at all these things to try to decipher. And when the OSC just has that answer, it's, oh, it was this. That's what
Right.
there was this major roadblock that you just couldn't see yet.
Right.
So yes, I think I definitely agree on that side. I do think too, there's an interesting kind of friction between the OSC and sales sometimes, which I find to be also interesting. So how do you navigate that? And like, how can we make sure that if the OSC is supposed to be this missing link, how do we make sure that it's all the way through?
I think it takes training. It takes a special type of person to be an OSC because, like I said, they have to live in both worlds. They have to be creative enough, strategic enough. They have to be comfortable with data and technology so that they can communicate with the marketing side, but they also have to be sales people. They also have to be closers. They also have to have that type of personality that can brag about what they've done. I think just having that special person in between that carries both traits is going to be super helpful for that. And that speaks to the passion for me in this industry, is figuring out like what's that special formula for that person, because they're not rare, but if you don't know the type of personality you're looking for, you don't really know who to hire.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I have seen like the best OSCs, like they're so helpful and they're such a guide and they're so patient and they're such good communicators, but that they also are, they can be super direct and they're like, hey, this is what it is and here's the numbers. And they're very like organized and task driven. And I don't think I could ever successfully do that job because it's such a duality of your personality almost.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit schizophrenic sometimes. I had a salesperson who covered for me for quite a while, and she was fantastic. She's a fantastic salesperson. And she understood a lot about marketing. She understood a lot about a lot of things, but her inability to sit still and not move from her desk for 8 hours killed her. And by the time I came back, which was only like 4 or 5 days, she was like, thank God. I could never sit in front of a computer and just be like, hello, thank you for calling Builder. Hello, thank you. It's just like, no thanks. But it wasn't the fact that she didn't have the skill set. She could set an appointment like nobody's business. She understood the whole gamut of things, but because she's a salesperson who liked getting up and walking around and checking the models, she did not have the ability to sit here and be an OSC. So there's just so many like pitfalls
Mhm.
to, you could be personality wise this perfect OSC, but your physical desire to not be constrained to a desk or a computer can make you just not a great OSC. So there's a lot of things to watch out for.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you do the hiring for OSCs on our team because it's a lot of boxes to check and they are just so uniquely good at that. So going back to like how does OSCs work with sales? What are some tips that you could give OSCs and like to make that OSC sale relationship better?
I honestly think it comes from leadership and it comes from setting proper expectations, because one of the things that I hear all the time, and even within my own leadership circles that I've worked with, is this idea. And I talked to David Hagan about this. We have a process, right? It's like we set an appointment and the salesperson is supposed to tell you, yes, they showed up. No, they didn't. Here's what happened. And a lot of OSCs take that literally and they haven't updated the appointment in 17 days. And what happened? And they're like, we don't know because they didn't update it. I think a good OSC, even though the process is the salesperson needs to do these things, they just naturally want to know what happened to the appointment because they're so emotionally involved. They're going to call the buyer, they're going to call the salesperson, they're going to encourage the salesperson to do what they're supposed to do. And I think a lot of people are going to fight me on this, but I feel like an OSC's responsibility and job first sides with the sales team. It first sides with their marketing department, it first sides with their sales team. And then the second responsibility is going to be for the customer. Because if you don't have that whole process down, if you are an OSC and you can't build that relationship within your own company and your own people, then you really have no business trying to do it with a complete stranger over the phone. I think that's a really, it's not as popular of an opinion, but every time we go into a builder and there's friction and the customers are unhappy, the salespeople are always 100% protective of their leads. And I go in and I change the mindset of that OSC. It's like, hey, just figure out why they're insecure about this appointment, figure out why they're not updating the appointment, figure out why. And when we solve all of our whys within our own inner circle, then everything else falls into place. I don't think there is a single salesperson out there who isn't going to hear the why behind it and get that reinforcement and not eventually be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me as to why I'm doing this. I think that management just says, hey, use the CRM system, update this appointment. And there's really no
Mhm.
why am I doing it? Because sales, like, they're not just sitting there like waiting for appointments. They're closing their own deals. They're following up with their backlog. They're doing a million things. Like, I challenge you to sit in a sales office and it's like ADHD nightmare. So if you
Yeah.
can't help them prioritize why something is important, it's never going to work out.
Yeah. So basically what I hear you saying is OSCs, you need to OSC your sales team first.
Yes, before you do anything, OSC your sales team, call them. Like,
Mhm.
I always tell my OSCs, if your call isn't like VIP on their cell phone, work on that, because
Mhm.
you have to train your sales team to be like, oh my gosh, Sarah's calling. Hold on. Yes. What's going on? What's happening? That's the excitement and the priority your OSC needs in order to get that buy-in and get the results that you need. I think marketing is a little bit easier because we're just like, oh, this is so pretty, or here's the feedback. That relationship is a little easier to forge because we are both sitting in an office. We do work at a slower pace. We do have that ability to sit there, but salespeople are just like, go. So it's a
Mhm.
little bit harder to get them to like, hey, focus.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree with all of that. So on the marketing side then, how can we, if you were to give all the marketers out there, like your best advice of what you're not doing right now with your OSC and should be, what would it be?
I think the OSC will be able to tell you why a lead isn't quality, or why a source isn't working, or why a email didn't perform. They're the ones that hear that first feedback from a buyer. Oftentimes I find a lot of OSCs don't know what they don't know. So I will ask, why aren't we getting appointments this month? And they're like, I don't know, things are really slow. And I'm like, interesting. Has anyone said anything about like school or whatever? COVID is a really great example. And I found myself doing this to my marketing person. She's just like, why are appointments so slow? Why are our website has plummeted? What's going on? And I'm like, I really don't know. It's not even like our off sales cycle, but leads have just not wanted to come in. And I was just like, they are talking about this thing called COVID. And as I was talking, I was just like, oh, actually, I think maybe we should figure out how to do virtual tours because people are hesitant to travel. But when the initial question was like, why are appointments slowing down? Why are leads coming to a complete halt? Why is our website so down? I didn't really have the answer until I started talking about my calls recently or the feedback I've been getting. Then I started to like, actually, there is a pattern, because as much as I preach about this, it's not out of the ordinary for an OSC to get into the daily grind of things and just like call after appointment. So for the marketer, I would encourage you guys to have the OSC pause and then try to ask probing questions as to the why behind trends that you're seeing. Oftentimes the OSC has that answer.
Yeah, I think the OSC is the best person to identify trends like that, to identify those patterns. The other thing, like I love working with OSCs when they're really dialed into all of your customers, all of your leads at the very first step, and they can really help you target way more effectively. We all know that personalizing your emails and making sure that everything's targeted is really important, but it's hard as a marketer sometimes to know was like, what are people saying? What could I target? And we're not on the phone, so we don't hear, oh, everybody's asking about if we have dog showers. And we would never know. But like by talking to the OSCs, they're like, oh my gosh, how many people are going to ask about this? And then you're like, oh, now I can set up an email or a social campaign or whatever. So I love to hear what are people just what are they talking about? What are their concerns? What are their fears? Because that's just gold to a marketer. Like we can do so much with that.
Yeah, and it comes back to education. I think a lot of OSCs, especially, I don't even want to say new OSCs. I've seen OSCs in the seat for years, but they just didn't have that relationship with the marketing team, where the marketing team, and I think all marketing teams can agree, advertising in this industry is a complete nightmare. More so now than ever, because it's don't talk about age, don't talk about gender, don't talk about families, don't talk about what the heck do we talk about? What do we target? And I think the OSC is just gold there because they speak to a huge volume of people every day. And if you're proactive and say, hey, can you just ask, oh, what brings you to this area? Is it they're changing jobs? Is it an industry? Is it a profession? Is it a school? Is it whatever that doesn't violate Google and Meta's dang community restrictions? Well, however you can finesse that, have the OSC work that conversation in there and update the CRM. You don't have to necessarily ask the OSC probing questions, but you can inversely have the OSC ask those probing questions to the buyers. And that way
Mhm.
you can get the right information you need to do your job.
Yep. Yep. I had a really interesting conversation on the podcast a few episodes ago about how personas a lot of times are like wish lists. So this is who we want to have in this community, but we put that together in the beginning, and then a lot of times it's not ever updated. It's not necessarily always correct. And so like data is definitely going to be a great way for you to edit that. But getting some of that just directly from your OSC, you can get like early indications as well, especially if you don't have like advanced analytics set up and things like that. That's the human way to get it.
Right. I think people coming from what location is really, I just had a conversation with a broker today. He wanted us to focus on a certain region, but what I proposed to him was his sales team needs to figure out where these buyers are coming from. So it's not necessarily that they want to go to Lufkin, Texas, but no one starts off in Lufkin, Texas. Like they start off somewhere else. So
Yeah.
where is that? Is it Dallas proper? Is it Chicago? Is it California? This is information that the sales team never think of. When they're selling a home, they're like, oh, by the way, where are you from? Surely it's not Lufkin, Texas, and they're not keeping tabs on that, but an OSC will, and an
Mhm.
OSC can, and they'll be able to give you that information.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing too, and I don't want to skip over, is the technology piece. I feel like the OSC should be the power user in your CRM, which I know you love it when I say that. But if they are, they can really help both sides of the equation just with the technology and reporting side of everything. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to our OSC team and just tell me the data on this. And they have it right away. They're like, oh yeah, I've been looking at that. And it's really convenient and easy. And I think it's a quick way to unify the teams right away. If everyone goes to the OSC for that, then, now we're all talking to the same source.
Yeah, I think there was a conversation about there needs to be a role called chief technologist. And I agree with that. But the thing is, the chief technologist should be your OSC, because when you create a completely different role for technology, then they just become another silo.
Mhm.
The OSC is already a unifier between marketing and sales, and it's in the name. Like online sales concierge or online sales counselor. I'm not saying you need to be a complete geek, but you have to be comfortable with technology because that's where you're sitting.
Yeah, it's where your whole job lives.
Where your whole job lives. I don't know of a single OSC now that like it just works on a pen and paper and a landline. We're all on the website, we're in the CRM, we're like using technology. And I want to be clear, I know plenty of amazing OSCs that are not complete tech geeks, but they are tech savvy and they're curious. We have an OSC here that we hired, and she said, I'm not that great with a CRM. I'm not that great. And I hired her anyways because I could tell she was very curious. She's like a go-getter. And week 2 of training her in HubSpot, she's like teaching me things. And she's, oh, I went ahead and color coded these templates and I went ahead and did this. I'm like, I have never even thought to do that. So, in saying that, I think a lot of OSCs, one, don't give themselves the permission. And two, I think there's just this like rumor that technology is this big scary thing. And technology is very intuitive. You just have to give yourself permission to probe around and be
Mhm.
curious and just break a few things.
Yeah, we have to channel our inner child and just click the button. It's not going to explode. I promise.
Click the buttons, just see what happens. I feel like a lot of builders would be very shocked by how tech savvy their OSEs actually are if they just took off child safety features and let their OSC explore, because I think most OSCs are very curious and very, what happens? I think that's the whole crux of who they are personality wise. And I just feel like if you put a curious person who wants to help in front of a computer, they're going to somehow be tech savvy.
Yeah. I think in a lot of builders, it's a missed opportunity to allow the OSC to have ownership over that too, and do a training or help your sales team or help your marketing team learn how to do things in there. And like everybody likes to have that thing that's, oh yeah, I'm the expert in this. And it's really a gift to be able to give that to someone to be able to teach others. So if you notice and if you give the opportunities to these people, like there's a chance that they're really gonna shine and that you wouldn't have known otherwise. I've seen that time and time again.
And I like to tell the story of, as a new OSC, I crashed my builder server for 3 days. But in order to do that, I had a lot of freedom, and I feel like it's a small price to pay for having a OSC who is very good at maintaining and understanding the entire tech stack and helping the entire company come together in that way.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm sure your OSC is not going to be as crazy as you were and shut down the whole server.
That was like a decade ago. Technology has come a long way.
Yeah, so let's not scare everyone into thinking that's going to happen.
It won't.
So the very last thing I have on my points that I wanted to say was also about celebrating shared wins. I feel like the OSC is perfect for that and being like that shout out of, oh my gosh, we got this appointment and this salesperson did such a great job and they came from this email that marketing did. And like they can really be that cheerleader for everyone. And we've already established that marketing might not be the most amazing at that every time. So like making those wins a shared effort that brought that, I feel like the OSC has a unique bird's eye view to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't underestimate a salesperson's desire to be called out either. And one of the things that I've found as a new gift by working with a ton of builders is you can celebrate yourself and someone else at the exact same time and still come out the hero. A good example is we had a salesperson who really was not deeply in love with us. And I found that the greatest way to get through to her is to celebrate how great she was in the CRM. No one knew how much work she put into her project for Lasso. Like, it was never talked about, but she kept her Lasso so clean that I was like, she should be an OSC. She sent out mass emails. She did all of these amazing things, and no one celebrated that. And we were at the same time struggling with the other salespeople to even log into their CRM. And this salesperson came off not as engaging with the rest of her sales team. So when we started celebrating that and showing, because she kept her CRM clean, because she did her tasks, that she was able to have an open rate that like rivaled the OSC project, which I'd never seen before, because she was keeping everything clean. And in our sales meeting, I would show like the OSC's open rate is only 10% higher than the salesperson. And here's why. And all of a sudden, she loved us because she's just, that OSC team knows what they're talking about. But what that also did was it had the other salespeople go, I can have a high open rate. So it not only won the salesperson over because she realized like, hey, we are in fact paying attention, but it also highlighted the OSC because they were still the metric to meet up to. While she had a great open rate, the OSC project was still 10% higher. They were still leading the way. They still were the experts. They still knew how to help. So you're right, like sharing, finding a win that kind of ties everyone together to show that if you do this happens and you get what you want, and all of these people are working together to contribute, I think that accomplishes more than one goal at the same time.
For sure. And never underestimate how competitive people can be. Because once you highlight one person, everyone's, but I want that. You need to highlight me next time.
It's funny because we see that within our own marketing team, Chelsea, who like would be shy as heck The other
Hmm.
day, she's just, did that lead come through LinkedIn asking for a friend? The friend is me. And I was beyond shocked because I was like, first of all, yes, she's right. I did the worst sales thing I could have done and forgot the marketing contribution. But we had created this like shared culture of wins so much that this very shy, very humble marketing person was just like, what about me? What about my needs? What about my thoughts? And that was such a huge win for us because I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, we're showing marketing that if you celebrate your wins, you're gonna get what you want. And that's the cooperation of us, the salespeople.
Yep. That's the power of shared KPIs too, because that's a sales win, a sales KPI, but marketing also has that same KPI. She is tasked with getting leads through LinkedIn. So like I need to mark this on my spreadsheet. So you better tell me.
For sure. Shared wins, shared KPIs, shared goals. And we should all have sales goals because it's all the same sales funnel.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, the big takeaway is better communication, sharing more things, and just like making this an effort. I think a lot of builders, we're very busy. We're going a million different places. We're trying a million different things. The market's over here doing a crazy thing, and we're like trying to figure it out. And these little details are sometimes missed, but the impact can be so huge and can turn around so many things. I'm sure that you agree, like when we see the OSC and the sales team like really getting along and working together really well, like everyone's KPIs and numbers go up. So it's so important, and we can't forget as leaders to put the effort into unifying our teams.
Yeah, I'm leaders. That is probably one of the best things that you can do for your company and for your end of month and quarter numbers. If you have a desire to do better in your job, take that initiative to reach out and talk to people. I think that you're the one that pointed out one of the things that Shared Drive does. One of the things that I do well is I force people to talk to each other, which is crazy. That's even a superpower to mention. But I find that people are just, they go into work, they put their nose down and they grind. And it's like, you don't have to grind if you look up a little bit and just look around and be like, you can help me. Come over here. Let's talk about this. Working smarter, not harder, often involves another person.
Yep. And I think we do a good job, not to toot our own horn, but I think we do a great job of uniting teams. And that's one of the first things that we do when we get into any builder. We're like, okay, we need to bring that person into this meeting. Okay, who does this? Why aren't they here? We need to talk to them. And all of a sudden, everybody's talking and they're like, oh my God, you work here too? Crazy. And it's like everything gets better, but it's really just that like we put effort into it right away and we know that it's important. And we get some weird looks sometimes, but the results speak for themselves. Do you have any last words for marketing teams, OSC teams, sales teams, the entire building industry we talked about today? Like, what's your final words for them?
I think just get out of your own comfort zone and do one incredibly uncomfortable thing that helps you connect with another department. And we're talking about online sales and marketing and on-site sales right now, but there are so many different departments within
Mhm.
your own organization. Talk to your design center, talk to your lender, talk to everyone and understand what's their pain point. And you'd be surprised at how often you guys can solve each other's problems.
Yeah, yeah. We just talked about such a small part because there's construction and there's so many other departments, your customer care and your warranty and like the when you think about it, like your buyer's going to talk to all of them. Your buyer's going to experience this whole thing. So for your internal teams not to is just it's wild.
Yeah, we should all be saying the same things. We should all be in defense of each other. I think one of the biggest problems I find within our industry and within each builder is we're on our own team and we're not really watching out for each other. And I get it. I think the reason why we're not watching out for each other is we don't see how, when we're in alignment and when we're in defense of each other, we actually help each other out. A great example, I just spoke to that same broker we're having a hell of a time with marketing and sales because our warranty is not great. So even though our marketing team is killing it, even though our online sales team is killing it, even though our sales team is killing it, because our process for post close of home is not great, these really happy customers are having a very terrible time once they close their home, and they're going back and they're talking about it. So you can take that all the way to the front of the door and then it could all
Mhm.
just fall apart. And if we're not helping our construction team, we're not helping our warranty team, everything that we've done up to that point is just trashed.
Yep. Yeah, remember, you can go back and edit your Google review. So your customers don't stay happy. They can go back and undo that happy 5-star review. And you're right, we forget that. I think my tip would be to encourage builders to set up like a quarterly meeting where it's like a joint strategy meeting. Like this is the goal, is to just say, how can we help each other? Where are our gaps? What can we do to improve communication or to get you information that you need faster, and just allow each department to talk about not only their struggles, but things that like they feel like each department is doing well, and just have a unifying meeting. And I think quarterly, but really this could be as much as you'd like, but you just got to put some effort into it.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you, Shari, for coming on again. I love having you on, and I'm sure I will again, but this is such a great topic, and I appreciate all of your information that you shared today. I hope that it was helpful for all of our listeners. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you to have this amazing experience that we've talked about, how would they do that, Shari?
You'll mostly catch me on LinkedIn, but our website's also a good place to find information as well.
Yes, I will put both of those links down in the description box.
Oh, and now we have a chat, so you can go on and play with that. And Nova will definitely let me know if you have any questions for me personally.
Yes, definitely. All of our new on the Share Drive website, we have a new AI chat that goes directly to Shari. Put your questions in there. She will reach out to you, as well as our lovely robot Nova. And we will see all of you on our next episode. So hit that subscribe button so you get an alert when the next episode comes out. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.